After episode 1 canonized through flashback moments from Peacemaker season 1, we now have the same happen with the Suicide Squad in episode 2. This video will be my breakdown and review for Peacemaker season 2 episode 2 titled "A Man is Only as Good as His Bird," obviously referencing Eagley, who had a clear standout moment near the end. We'll get back to that, but first, what did we learn about the DCU? Make sure to like and subscribe and become a member of this channel in the Noble tier or above for early access to videos, and in the King tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. So there's quite a bit less we learned about the DCU in this episode compared to episode 1. No retcons, no new character references or appearances from the comics, no new information on Earth 2 beyond that Earth 2 Peacemaker dumped Earth 2 Harcourt. But while there isn't much, there isn't nothing either. We learned that Rick Flag Sr. became Argus director 8 months ago, so 2 months before the first scene from episode 1. This also means that Creature Commandos was over 8 months ago, and probably longer, considering Flag looks completely recovered from his ridiculous injury in Creature Commandos. The timeline is a bit up in the air for now, maybe we'll get concrete dates at some point. As we see Flag becoming director, he reads about his son's death and we actually see the moments on screen. Rick Flag Jr.'s death was previously mentioned, and this very scene was previously shown in a similar flashback in season 1. But since season 1 isn't technically a DCU show, this is the first time these events are shown in the DCU, formally canonizing at least this scene as an on-screen moment, including the famous line, "Peacemaker, what a joke." Bringing up Rick Flag, this reminds me of something I missed last episode, which is that on Earth 2, Keith mentions that Earth 2 Harcourt is now dating some jarhead. People have theorized that Harcourt's boyfriend will be revealed to be Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag, since it makes sense that in a world where Peacemaker is a hero, he never killed Flag. A jarhead is a Marine Corps member while Flag was in the army, but it's an alternate universe, maybe there he was a Marine. Unless, could it be John Stewart? No, it definitely isn't. Finally, for a little bit of universe interconnectivity, Peacemaker has a Lord Tech phone, which is neat. Getting to the review, I gotta say, in the week between the episodes, my thoughts on the intro has changed a bit. On my first watch, I thought the song was fun, but nowhere near the level of season 1's intro. But in the following days, the intro song, "Oh Lord" by Foxy Shazam got stuck in my head, got added to my likes on Spotify, and was listened to on repeat. I love it, nearing the level of season 1's intro song. Obviously, the music of the episode is generally great in both the score and in the soundtrack. I especially liked "Evil Thoughts" by Foxy Shazam and "Dirty Money" by Ida Maria. The episode begins with a scene that honestly feels a bit disconnected from the rest of the episode. We jump back 8 months to see Flag's introduction to his new Argus director office, and immediately he demands the files on his son's death. I say this scene feels disconnected, not because it's a bad scene, quite the contrary, but because it's so Rick Flag centric, and Flag does not appear at all in the rest of the episode. Frankly, after watching this scene, I expected for the episode to focus on him, only to be a bit disappointed when he didn't appear at all. I'm not sure what the next episode focuses on, but given the title, Another Rick Up My Sleeve, Rick Flag, who is in the title, is likely to have a large role. So I think this scene would have been better placed in episode 3, meaning Flag wouldn't appear in this episode at all, which would be perfectly fine. That's just one missing episode in a season of 8. That said, it's a great scene, it's very well acted, it has great sad music and really great editing, splicing together Senior's reading with the text and with the Suicide Squad flashback. In a vacuum, I love this scene, I just don't think it fit the episode, and it might have slightly affected how I viewed the episode. We then jump to the present day and continue directly from the ending of episode 1, which is followed up on with a nice mix of serious stakes and a bit of comedy, maybe a bit too much comedy. I think they maybe should have taken this a bit more seriously, but that is a bit of a nitpick. Throughout the episode, they kind of deal with the aftermath of this in a few different ways. Peacemaker and Vigilante disposing of the body was a great scene, super gross and super messed up, a perfect musical choice, and a great display of the psychological effects of the death. Vigilante is also hilarious as he disposes of a body with a huge smile on his face. On the topic of Vigilante, in the last episode Adrian didn't appear much. This episode we see a lot more of him, and he is just so consistently funny. From that aforementioned scene to his sex talk to his moments at the 11th Street Kids meetup, such a funny character, such a delight. The episode also deals with the aftermath at the ending of episode 1 with Chris getting drunk after having gotten stoned last episode. He's not really doing too well right now, but this was a great way to show his current state, lead to a fantastic moment with Eagly, and have him make some poor choices in regards to Earth 2. It's a bit of a slow burn, but this episode is kind of a bridge between episodes 1 and 3. After the death of Peacemaker of Earth 2, you let the characters sit a bit and breathe before we jump headfirst into the Earth 2 adventures. I think it made for a bit of a slow episode at times, but also might have been necessary for the structure of the season. Backing up a bit, we learn that Leota and Kia broke up in a really sad scene that ends in a heartbreaking moment moment where Leota says I love you only to not hear it back. Oof. Hardcore has issues of her own, being really confrontational in the store, dismissing Chris's comments, and honestly, she came off as a bit unlikable in this episode, which is, I know, purposeful, but it doesn't change how unlikable she was. Still, she's gonna develop. I doubt she'll ever be as unlikable as she is in this episode. A big focus in this episode is the 11th Street Kids meeting, which gives us a few fun moments, a few funny moments, a few nice touching moments, but generally works to let our characters breathe and interact before returning to the plot. I don't think these scenes were expertly written or anything. I feel like something was missing for whatever reason, like the chemistry of the group was off, which might have been purposeful given the places that they are all in. Adrian Chase is like the only one who's the exact same from the last time we saw them as a group. This episode saw the introduction of a few new characters like the Argus agents, who had nice character introductions that make it so that if something happens to them, we might feel bad. And also their character introductions felt very similar to Peacemaker Season 1, probably because of the more Season 1 feeling musical choice. We meet Langston Fleury, an original character who is brilliantly played by Tim Meadows, who is just effortlessly funny. Langston is hilarious. His interactions with Economos, the Pokemon moment, and nicknaming the agents are all really funny, but the bird blindness joke was genius. Super funny initially, but also acted as a setup for his confrontation with Eagly, which paid off that joke so well. I could already tell I'm going to enjoy this character. He and Vigilante have a similar sort of comedy, but they're both super funny in this episode, so they're probably going to be the main sources of comedy in the season. Beyond the comedy, which is maybe the only thing this episode did better than episode 1, the episode's other highlight came near the end, as Fleury and his agents infiltrate Peacemaker's home and are faced with Eagly. The action scene we get from this is fantastic. It's really creative, really brutal, and even a bit funny. The moment of Eagley ripping out Encino Man's eye somehow combines insane brutality, a bit of comedy, and even gorgeous visuals all at once. They really locked in for that moment, especially visually, as quote-unquote titties lay bleeding out. The fact that Langston says, "Titties, you'll be okay," with all seriousness is hilarious. It's a very, very funny scene, but also it's really brutal, and Eagley comes off as an absolute badass, probably his best action scene in the 2 seasons. In the end, this episode was certainly a lot slower than the previous, with smaller scope and generally less happening, which at times can feel a bit mild, but I genuinely believe it's only going to get crazier from here. The season started strong and with a lot of big moments, but after that we calmed down for a moment before jumping headfirst into what's going to be, I think, a crazy season. Because of that, I appreciate the episode for what it is, a building block in the season overall. It's also really funny and has a fantastic ending, but still, as an episode on its own, it's definitely not as good as episode 1. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, but if I'm right about the rest of the season, I doubt any other episode going forward will be below an 8 out of 10. Speaking of the season going forward, there was a weeks ahead trailer that showed us some new footage. Most of it we've seen before or don't add anything to talk about, except for one moment. At some point during the season, Flag is getting in contact with Belle Reve Prison to talk with a prisoner. Considering the interdimensional portals they're dealing with and a direct reference in the previous episode, that prisoner can definitely be Lex Luthor. James Gunn did say there will be some big DCU cameos, including that from Superman, and at the end of Superman, it was explicitly mentioned that Lex is being sent to Belle Reve. I, for one, cannot wait to see him. He was maybe my favorite part of the movie. I think he's perfectly cast. Seeing him in prison would be really cool. I cannot wait. Although it's entirely possible that this is the very next episode, and it's not going to be Lex Luthor. He's instead getting into contact with Red Stain Wild, specifically to hunt down Eagly. Either way, Lex Luthor has a large chance of appearing in the season, but it might not just be through that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about the episode and what's to come, and thanks so much for watching.